the scene stealer, the shining star of it all. No, it is not Tiny from Escape's mama. It is Glenn Close. What?
What?
Glenn Close. Everything
when she
about
had on
Glenn's
the ripped
performance.
Jeans, I said, "Oh, this is a lady I know." And then she had on one of the tops with the shoulders out. I said, "Ma'am,
Yeah, it was real. It was very real. It was very real. Lee Daniels does this thing that my grandma used to say. He uses his whole ass, and he puts his all into each project that he becomes involved in. And he's shown so much versatility over the years, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But we need to acknowledge the fact that a part of his secret sauce when he was starting out was his connection to Monique. He called on Monique a lot of the times to bring some star power, to bring an incredible performance. We see this in things like Shadow Boxer and, of course, Precious, right? And they work as a unit. They work as a team in tandem, and they do really, really good stuff when they're getting together and they're making magic happen. Mm-hmm. And to know that this was them getting back to that point was that was enough for me to be hooked in, because I just wanted to see what would happen all these years later now that they reconciled and are doing work together again.
Yeah.
So straight out the gate, we'll talk about just Monique's performance in this film and what I think it means to the Lee Daniels catalog. Mm-hmm. They waited a bit in the movie to bring Monique onto screen. I think that was deliberate and it was smart. And then Monique's role is not the lead, which I also think is smart when it comes to her just reconnecting with Lee Daniels. If she had been like a lead in this film, it would have almost been like a expectation or like a thing that would have just like, haunted the film. Right?
I see what you did there.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. But because they made her a supporting role, I think that was just like a great decision. So she plays a social worker. I knew by the way she knocked on the door that she was playing a social worker.
Baby, I knew by the way she was dressed that she was playing the social worker.
And what I like about this is that it gives us doses of Monique throughout the film without us having to either expect a long, like dramatic performance, which we know she can do, and also B, expecting like comedic interruptions, here throughout. This was none of that. Monique gave us.
And also, I want to add to that, as she was playing the social worker, I couldn't help but my mind go back to Precious. Yeah. Where she was on the other side of that. So we know,
this is true.
We know that the greatest artist of all time, Mariah Carey, played the social worker in.
This is true.
I said it. Played the social worker in Precious, but we know that Monique's character was on the other side. She was the mother who was, horrible. She was the horrific mother. So I couldn't help but like keep thinking of that, and then like just calling back to that. So I thought that was brilliant.
A lot of people were like, talking about how this is Lee's like, first real foray into horror films, but that's not the case because you just mentioned, Precious, and that was a horror film in a lot of ways.
Listen, it was not categorized as such, but in a lot of ways, that's horror.
And then we also know that Lee Daniels can do trauma really well. He was probably going to make this movie regardless. But him being able to reconcile with Monique and get her into this role was perfect. There was nothing about any of the Monique scenes that I felt like was too much, too little, too anything. They just flow. She was a very unconventional social worker because she had obviously been working with this family for so long, and she just set aside the professionalism just enough for us to get like something fresh.
You better stop playing with me. You have a great day, Cynthia.
You have a better one, Ebony. You and your cockeyed mother.
She just came in as like, oh, I'm just here to check on, just something plain. Wouldn't care. But it was just enough like, all right now, let me be real with you because that's Monique, right? Bring some of that to this, and they did it perfectly. That being said, the scene stealer, the shining star of it all, no, it is not Tiny from Escape's mama. It is Glenn Close. What?
What?
Glenn Close. Y'all.
Yeah.
Earlier you mentioned Mariah Carey in Precious.
Yes.
Lee Daniels was able to convince Mariah to get out of full
Take her makeup
glam,
off, take her wig
and
off.
be like as natural as possible and be on screen doing it.
Yeah.
And he was able to get a performance out of Glenn Close that we know. Let's be clear, by the way. We know that Glenn Close is that girl.
Yeah,
She's always been, a phenomenal performer on screen.
Absolutely.
But we never seen her like this.
Listen, when
ever.
I was watching her on screen, I was like, does she have a family member who is like this? Because what is your reference point?
Yo.
Who do you know, Glenn, in your family that rolls like this? Because you got to know that type of person to be able to play that type of person. Like, 'cause we all know a white lady like that.
Oh my God, we do. We all do. We know. And I was waiting, for her to say that she had a son named Aiden or something like this.
You know it? Come on, or Jalen.
Jaden, Aiden, Kaylin,
you know it.
Yeah.
You know it. The fact that her daughter, who of course was played by Andra Day, was named Ebony, that was just sending
hilarious. Yo, when she said her daughter's name the first time in that first dinner scene, I said, yo, you got to be playing with me. You got to be playing with me.
Y'all did this. Y'all did this.
The costuming, the prosthetics, everything about Glenn's performance.
Jeans, I said, oh, this is a lady I know. And then she had on one of the tops with the shoulders out. I said, ma'am.
Yeah, it was real. It was very real. It was very real. I can't say enough about this. Glenn's performance is worth the price of admission. Okay? Because not only does she give us white mama who only dates black men, and that kind of flavor. She also gives us like so many layers. She's doing chemo, right? So she's giving us that. And then she's flirtatious. She's obviously, they mentioned, her having multiple boyfriends growing up, blah, 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 blah. So she's still that person. She gives us that part. She gives us like full on like spine, sass, one-liners. And then we transition later into the movie because we're reminded, oh, this is a horror genre film. Mm-hmm. She gives us possessed by a demon like no other. To see her writhing, is it writhing or writhing? I don't know how you, what's that word?
I think it's right.
That's the word I want to use. To see her on the floor.
The floor.
She was squirming about like the old girl from the Olympics. Oh my God. Like Glenn Close.
And there's a line, I won't repeat it because, YouTube, but there's a line that she says when she's possessed. And I was like, now how Lee Daniels get her to say that line?
What your nappy, you talking about the nappy line? Is that what you're talking about? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
I can smell your nappy.
Yeah, that sent me. But I can't say enough about that. Not to mention, we haven't even touched everything because we will here in a minute later for some of y'all. But we have other like heavy hitters. We have Omar Epps in there doing his thing. We have Aunjanue Ellis who always
No, we gonna get to it.
Always does her thing. This is like, this is something I'm definitely going to rewatch because there's so many things going on here. This is something that I do recommend. The Lee Daniels he's just too good.
Yeah.
Lee Daniels is too good. He knows he's good. And then he's got his secret sauce in the mix.